Simply going viral isn't always going to be the answer. This is the best strategy to consistently attract high quality leads into your business, because one of the biggest challenges that coaches, consultants, and experts are constantly having is their inability to attract really high quality leads. And they're filling their calendar up with people that are not quite ready for them, not quite the right person, or they're lacking engagement, or they're launching a program and nobody's buying, or maybe they're running ads and calls are really expensive. So I want to kind of dive into talking about why this is happening and how you can kind of easily overcome this by tweaking your messaging strategy to make sure that you're attracting and captivating the right ready to invest type of leads. So in terms of making sales, there's kind of two ways that people tend to do with marketing and content creation and lead generation. Either you're running ads to try to bring people in, and those calls become pretty expensive, or you're trying to create organic content hoping to maybe go viral or grow your audience and get calls booked from there. So let's kind of distill a little bit of what ends up happening in both of these scenarios in terms of attracting high quality leads. Oftentimes, when we are trying to fill our calendar up with calls through ads, a lot of the people that I see out there, a lot of the coaches out there are teaching you to really try to get your call costs down as much as you possibly can. And so you're really optimizing for quantity over quality. And part of that is like, okay, if I fill up my calendar up with more people, this is a numbers game and eventually more people are going to buy. On paper, that sounds logical, but in practice, it leads to burnout, and it leads for you to basically spend a lot of money on booking calls that are not the right people. What you want to do instead is make sure that your message is really dialed in so that you're not attracting or speaking to people who aren't the right fit. And yes, your calls might be more expensive, but those people end up buying. So it's kind of interesting because one of the things that we've been experiencing lately is that the people that book into our calendar are absolutely incredible fits. In fact, in the last month, we've enrolled 3 people into my one-on-one program, pay in full, and these are really incredible people, right? And it's all coming from my Facebook ads strategy. And this is all a messaging strategy, really thinking about how do I make sure that my message is optimized to speak to the right people. On the other end, when we talk about, okay, I'm going to grow my audience or try to go viral to bring in people, the same type of problem ends up showing up. So I literally talked to somebody this week that was telling me, Fabi, I had a video that went viral on TikTok. I had over 14 million views. And every single person that booked a call from that video were people that were broke. They could not afford to work with me. And I spent hours and hours managing DMs, getting on the phone, being ghosted, or people that just simply not showing because they were not the right people. So simply going viral isn't always going to be the answer. At the end of the day, all of these things can be fixed with really clear, compelling messaging that very effectively talks to the right people. And let's kind of break this down. Let's talk about this a little deeper. I like to think about this as a kind of like the TikTok algorithm. Now, I don't know if you're consuming TikTok or not, or maybe you're doing YouTube Shorts, or maybe you're more like an Instagram Reel type of person. Whatever your thing is, let's just use the algorithm as an example for this. When I look at TikTok, the algorithm that this app has is really advanced. And if I stay watching a video for just a little bit longer, or if I like a video, or if I comment on the video, what happens is that the app just keeps on giving me more and more of that type of content, right? The same types of ideas, because it recognizes that this is what I like. So what's happening to majority of people when they're creating content, and I'm just using TikTok as an example, but you're creating content and putting it out into the world, whether you're doing it on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Twitter, wherever it is, these things work the same. What typically happens is that your content is so broad, these apps don't even know how to categorize you, don't know where to put you. You're like, I help entrepreneurs, and it just feels like, okay, let me categorize you under entrepreneurs. But that could be anybody. That could be carpenters, it could be coaches, it could be anything. And so what happens very often is that people are very broad and thinking that that's going to work. But this isn't 1920 anymore by just saying you're helping entrepreneurs, it's going to bring people in. You have to be highly specific. We are living in a world where the hyper niche is much more effective. And that is really going to be the thing that's going to allow you to consistently attract high quality leads into your business. When you create content that these people will look at and they will feel like this is 100% me. It's like you landed on their feed, on their algorithm. And again, I'm just using the algorithm as an example because this could be true whether you're running ads or you're going on podcasts, doing interviews or whatever it is. But this is the thing that's actually going to help you attract consistent, high quality leads into your high ticket offer. I see this all the time. Like I was just saying a moment ago, in our business, we literally experience that all the time. We're seeing how people are attracted into our message when they watch my masterclass, when they read my content, because it is so specific to my audience's problem that they can resonate with that and feel like I'm talking to them. And I get that all the time. When I hop on my 15-minute assessments, people will tell me, Fabi, how did you know? Like, this is literally me. This is exactly what I'm experiencing. And I'm not getting that by just saying things like, I'm gonna help you build a brand you love, which by the way was my messaging when I started my business. And unsurprisingly, I had a hard time attracting high quality leads, right? You have to get specific. You have to understand, how does my audience know that they have a problem? What does that problem look like for them? What are they trying to do right now to solve this problem? What are the mistakes that these people are making? How do I show them that these things are a mistake? The more specific and narrow your content is, the better it's going to be, the better it will perform, because you're going to speak to a smaller group of people, but with better results. So instead of saying, I'm helping like entrepreneurs, you're going into the specific, right? You're saying, I'm helping coaches who have been in business for the last 5 years and they've been making consistent 10 to 15K per month. They've been implementing TikTok as a strategy. They've had maybe 1, possibly 2 employees, and they're trying to scale their business. They've invested in these types of programs. They've done these types of things. So when you go that specific with your messaging, what happens is that there's very specific things that happen to these people. The way that they're experiencing the problem is not the same as somebody, for example, using that example, that just started their business a month ago, right? They're living different things. They're in different moments. So for you to really understand your audience, that is really the key to all of this. People are like, I don't understand. What do I need to do? Is it that I need to do appointment setting? Do I have to hire somebody to kind of send DMs to people? Because 𝐀𝐿𝐿 said that that was the thing to do. Or do I need to, try to go viral, try this strategy or that strategy? It's about none of those things. It's about instead being highly specific with your message and being able to ground the problem down to your audience's level. So what I mean by this is that you want to paint the picture of what that problem looks like in a very 3D real life way, right? So if you're saying, for example, that your audience is overwhelmed, well, what does overwhelmed look like? What does that mean? What does that mean for that woman? You're saying that your audience is made up of, driven women who are overwhelmed. Okay, well, what does that mean? What does it mean that they're driven? Number one, does it mean that they're always like type A, high achiever? They always go up the corporate ladder. They're doing all these things. They're achieving their goals. And then what does overwhelm look like? Is it that they're super tired at the end of the day? Is it that they're at work and then trying to answer calls from their school saying that they have to pick up their child, and so they're running out of the office and trying to manage 10 things at once? Get highly specific with how that problem shows up for your buyer. And the more that you ground those problems, the clearer that this will be. Now, what's the number one thing that comes up for me when I have conversations with people is that they say, well, I don't want to pick one problem. I want to talk about a lot of different things because my audience, I don't want to niche down, right? Because there's lots of things that I can do. Well, what I would tell you is that you want to think about what is the core problem that you solve, and then how does that problem show up for your audience in many different ways? Like, what are the symptoms to that problem? So the example that I like to give in my own business is that for me, the big problem that I solve is that people aren't attracting high quality leads. But the way that that problem shows up is very different. There's people that are running ads and they're spending hundreds of dollars on one call and it's not buying, like that person isn't buying. There are people that are getting on sales calls. They have their calendar full. They're not having an issue with getting calls booked, but none of those people are buying, or only 10% buy. There's people that are creating content and they're showing up consistently. They're doing daily Instagram reels, but they're barely getting any comments on those, or nobody's DMing them to work with them. So it's the specifics of what is not having a clear message that speaks to buyers look like on a day-to-day way for my ideal audience. So you want to think about, what does this problem look like for my people? And the more specific that you can get with that, the more powerful that that's going to be. This is literally what happens to every single one of my clients once they shift the message from broad and sounding like ChatGPT created the post for them, because it is so generic and it is so open that anybody, if I go into ChatGPT, I tell it, okay, help me write a post, and what I do is I help women lose weight. Well, it's gonna give you exactly the same thing that it would give any other person that does that. And so that's where it just gets lost in translation. You become categorized under, like, through the algorithm in a place where it's just broad, and the right person isn't getting your content. These people, your buyers, they're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on YouTube, they're on Twitter, they're everywhere, but your content isn't becoming visible to them. And the reason why it's not visible to them is that it's not speaking to them. It's speaking to everybody. It's not specific enough, and therefore it's getting lost in the sense of like invisibility. So the more specific that you get, the more that you're going to be able to consistently attract high quality leads. Again, this is literally the reason why our business really attracts a lot of amazing people, because the messaging is highly specific. So that being said, what can you do next? First, go watch my training at readytoinvestclients.com. You'll find the link underneath this episode, where you're going to be able to watch a video on exactly how to speak to buyers. What to do, what to say, how to attract them, how do you really shift your content for that? It's extremely powerful. Go to readytoinvestclients.com to watch it right now. The second thing is that you and I can hop on a free 15-minute brand message assessment, where I will literally take a look at your messaging and write it for you so that it is optimized to speak to actual buyers. This is an insanely amazing call. If you go to brandmessagesession.com, you're going to be able to scroll down and read all of the amazing testimonials that people have left about the call and how powerful it is and how much clarity this call will give you. Make sure you book it. I can't wait to talk to you soon. And make sure that you follow me and subscribe everywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts, and find me anywhere you want at Fabi Paolini. Let me know in the comments below, did that resonate with you? Are you looking to speak a little bit more narrowly, if that's a word? Are you still in the phase of like, I want to be a bit broad because I don't want to leave people out? What are your questions around this topic? Let me know below, and I will see you next episode.